Honorable Rauff, Hakeem.
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम ගරු නියෝජ්‍ය කාර්ක සභාපතිතුමනි කොච්චර කෙස් පැලෙන තර්කේ
Order, please. Please allow to speak.
ගරු නියෝජ්‍ය කාර්ක සභාපතිතුමනි කොච්චර කෙස් පැලෙන තර්ක ඉදිරිපත් කළත් සමහර න්‍යායන් අපට කියන්ට සිදු වෙනවා විශේෂයෙන්ම මම සුවිශේෂී පුද්ගලයෙක් හිටපු අග්‍රවිනිශ්චයකාරතුමා ඒ পদවිය දරපු කාල සීමාවකදී අධිකරණ අමාත්‍ය ධූරය දරපු හින්දා මට මගේ සාමූහික වගකීමට එරෙහි වෙන්නේ නැති කතාවක් මම කරන්න සිදු වෙන්නේ මොකද මුල් පෙළේ වාඩි වෙලා ඉන්න වමේ නායකව හැටියට තිස්ස විතාරණ මැතිතුමා ඩිව් ගුණසේකර මැතිතුමා වාසුදේව නානායක්කර මැතිතුමා මාස් සමග එකම කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලයේ අපි මේ කාරණා පිළිබඳව බොහෝ දේවල් කතා කරලා තිබෙනවා. එතුමන්ලා දන්නවා ඒ කාලවකවානුවේ මගේ ස්ථාවරය කුමක්ද කියන එක පිළිබඳව. එතුමන්ලගේ ස්ථාවරයත් මම හොඳට දැනගෙන හිටියා. නමුත් අපට කියන්න බැරි සමහර කරුණු තියෙනවා. ඒ මම මේ සභාගර්භය තුලත් මම ඒකට ඒ සාමූහික වගකීමට එරෙහි වෙන්නේ නැති කතාවක් තමයි මට කරන්න සිදු වෙන්නේ. එබැවින් ගරු නියෝජ්‍ය කාර්ක සභාපතිතුමනි මෙතන වැරදුණු කුරුමානමක් පිළිබඳව දිනේෂ් ගුණවර්ධන මැතිතුමා කතා කරා. ඒ වගේම විපක්ෂ නායකතුමා නිමල් සිරිපාල දෙසිල්වා අමාත්‍යතුමා විපක්ෂ නායකතුමා කතා කරද්දී එතුමත් මේ පිළිබඳව ඊටාම ආවේගශීලීව එතුමාගේ කතාවේ නොයෙකුත් දේවල් කියාපෑවා. විශේෂයෙන්ම මේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ පරමාධිපත්‍ය ජනතා පරමාධිපත්‍ය රැක ගැනීමට කරන සටනක් හැටියට එතුමා මේ කරුණ පිළිබඳව සඳහන් කළා. ඒ වගේම නීතිඥ සංගමේ වර්තමාන නායකත්වයේ දරන උපුල් ජයසූරිය මැතිතුමා බලල් අතක් හැටියට කටයුතු කරනවායි කියලා දෝෂාරෝපණය කළා. මොකද නීතිඥ සංගමය මොකද මම හිටපු අග්‍රවිනිශ්චයකාරතුමත් එක්ක ඒ තනතුරත් එක්ක කටයුතු කරද්දිත් අධිකරණ අමාත්‍යතුමා හැටියට එතුමත් එක්ක මම කටයුතු කරා. ඒ වගේම නීතිඥ සංගමයත් එක්කත් ඒ සභාපතිතුමත් එක්කත් මට කටයුතු කරන්න සිදු වුණා. නමුත් එදා මට කියන්න බැරි දෙයක් තිබුණා. මොකද කවුරුත් නීතිඥවරුන් හැටියට එතුමා අර සෙරමෝනියල් සිටින්ස් වලදී උත්සවාකාර පිළිගැනීම් වලදී විනිශ්චයකාරවරුන්ගේ කරපු කතා දිහා බැලුවහම ඒකට නීතිඥවරුන් අතරේ ලැබුණු ප්‍රතිචාරය දිහා බැලුවහම අපි කාටත් එදා දැනුණා එතුමා ඒ සංගමේ සභාපතිත්වය දරද්දී කළ යුතු කතා තමයි එතුමා කළේ. මොකද මේ රටේ නීතිය ආධිපත්‍ය රැක ගැනීම සඳහා කරපු කතා කියන එක අපි කවුරුත් පිළිගන්න ඕනේ. නමුත් අද මෙතන වෙලා තියෙන ප්‍රශ්නය පිළිබඳව මම එක දෙයයි කියන්න සිදු වෙන්නේ මොකද මම ඉංග්‍රීසියෙන් කියන්නම්. Judges hold office during good behavior and liable to be removed on ground of proved misbehavior and or incapacity. Therefore, it is clear the removal is solely based on personal conduct. Mr. Mohan Peris was informed that he was not duly appointed to the office of the Chief Justice. This is a position taken by the current government. Ms. Shirani Bandaranayake was informed that she had never ceased to be the CJ. She never ceased to be the Chief Justice. This is the position Honorable Sumandran also enunciated in his speech. The resulting position is that the reinstalling of Ms. Shirani Bandaranaike was carried out not by removal of Mr. Pires. The position was that Mr. Pires was not properly appointed, and as there was no vacancy, and therefore Article 107(2) is not applicable to the circumstances of the subject matter. Now, that is the simple explanation of this whole situation. There was no vacancy, and therefore it was ab initio void, and that is what all of us in legal parlance say. So, when you take that position, it is very clear that the executive, because executive is the appointing authority, and therefore executive appointed for a position which was vacant. And that matter has to be borne in mind. Now, merely going into other areas, I think I need to also advert to another issue, because now I think what we had to focus, mostly because I expected this to be said by Honorable Lakshman Kiriyalla, the leader of the House, because I have been at the receiving end of his arguments when I was Minister of Justice, defending the previous administration's mode of administration of justice in this country. Honorable Lakshman Kiriyalla quite often would point fingers at me and talk about Latimer House principles. He said, it's a shame that the former President Mahinda Rajapaksa, being the head of the Commonwealth, heads of government organization, the head of the Commonwealth, not honoring the Latimer House principles. Now it is time for us to revisit the Latimer House principles. Yes, Honorable Vijayadasa Rajapaksa, the current minister, my colleague in this government, has presented that to be included. Now, no, let me not be. No. Yes.
The action of the President now in terms of the Latimer House principle.
No, I am not talking about that now. Let this House deliberate on the need to have a proper procedure for the removal of the Chief Justice, because there never existed a proper procedure, because there is a lacuna. Because removal, I am not talking, because my argument is not about having removed the Chief Justice. My argument is that there was certainly a lacuna. So therefore the lacuna has to be addressed. And that is why now, for all purposes, existing position is that the removal procedure is through a parliamentary select committee. However, during the impeachment of Ms. Shirani Bandaranaike, allegations of bias, non-adherence to the principles of natural justice, and many other reasons were alleged. Honorable Vasudevan Nayakkara himself was quite affected by what was happening. I know that, for all purposes. Therefore, Parliament must provide procedure by legislation for removal of judges. Or at least we must amend the standing orders and set a procedure for removal of judges. It may also be advisable that the judge against whom allegations are made should be allowed to choose the procedure. Further, when a judge is impeached, the inquiry panel must consist of independent representation, such as internationally reputed individuals, to ensure justice and impartiality. Then මොකද වෙන්නේ? නඩුත් හාමුදුරුවන්ගේ බඩුත් හාමුදුරුවන්ගේ වැඩක් තමයි අපි කරන්නේ. අපි සිලෙක්ට් කමිටු එක පත් කරාම ඒකයි මෙතන සිදු වෙන්නේ කවුරුත් දන්නවා. ඉතින් ඒ හින්දා තමයි මේ වගේ ක්‍රමවේදයක් පිළිබඳව අපි පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ ස්ථාවර නියෝග වෙනස් කරමින් ඒ කමිටුවේ සභාපති හැටියට කටයුතු කරපු ආන්ධ්‍ර ප්‍රදේශ යාපා හිටපු අමාත්‍යතුමත් මෙතන ඉන්න එක හොඳයි. අපි ඔක්කොම දෙපාර්ශ්වෙම එකතු වෙලා මේ දේ කරමු. මොකද මේ අපේ ස්ථාවර නියෝග වෙනස් කරලා මින් ඉදිරියට මෙවැනි දේවල් සිදු නොවෙන්න අපි වග බලා ගනිමු. එච්චර අපිට දැන් කරන්න තියෙන්නේ. මේ පිළිබඳව කරුණු කියමින් let me Mr. Deputy Chairman of the Committees, how many minutes have I got? Huh?
20 minutes.
Yeah, how many more minutes? 3 more minutes. No, let me be very
you got
very
the 5
brief.
minutes more, the Honorable Vijaydasa's time.
Yes, thank you very much.
8 minutes.
So I have 5
Then
minutes
8
from
minutes.
you. So, Mr. Deputy Chairman of Committees, you know, I have been emissary between the former Chief Justice Shirani Bandaranaike and the former President Mahinda Rajapaksa, trying to resolve the conflict. I have run between both of them. I have spoken to them. I have shared this with my colleagues in the front benches several times. It was a futile attempt. The intransigence on both sides perhaps contributed to what happened.
Order, please.
Let me
There are
not be
point of
disturbed.
order, Honorable
So,
Sujiva Senasinghe.
having ventilated my pain and agony,
What's the point of order, Honorable Sujiva Senasinghe? No, it's okay. Yeah.
became more pronounced as a result of my abortive attempts to broker peace in that constitutional convulsion which saw this House debate a botched resolution in January 2013 to impeach Mrs. Shirani Bandaranaike. I next dealt with the trajectory of the litigation that sought to dispose of the issues that cropped up in challenge to the Select Committee proceedings. In the crux of my speech during the impeachment proceedings, I focused on the rulings of the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court, drawing on some comparative jurisprudence from countries such as the United States. But it has to be pointed out that when the Court of Appeal, comprising late Justice Iskandar Raja, the then President of the Court of Appeal, His Lordship Justice Anil Gunaratne, who has now been promoted to the Supreme Court after having been unfairly kept in the doghouse. I'm very sorry to say this, having been a Minister of Justice in the former administration, all of us felt that he was unfairly kept in the doghouse. For having associated himself with the final decision of the court then, and His Lordship Justice Salam, one of the most respected judges, later the President of the Court of Appeal, perhaps he was denied the chance to get elevated to the Supreme Court because of his association with that bench. These are all unfortunate events. They issued a writ of certiorari in writ application number 41 of 2012, quashing the findings and or the decision contained in the report of the Parliamentary Select Committee. Their attention exclusively focused on preliminary issues such as whether a writ can lie against Select Committee findings. I still stand vindicated with my speech which I made on the last occasion. Even when this matter went up in appeal at the instance of the Attorney General, the Supreme Court considered two questions of law, which I can simply summarize as one. Did the Court of Appeal err in holding that the writ jurisdiction embodied in Article 140 of the Constitution extend to the proceedings of Parliament or a Select Committee of Parliament? It was a question that was put up, framed by the then Court of Appeal bench. When the Supreme Court answered the above question in the negative, I have to point out that it did not go into the question that we are debating today. And I still stand by what the Supreme Court bench said, because it was wrong for the Court of Appeal to have quashed the parliamentary proceedings. It never possessed that authority. And I have quoted extensive authorities on that when I spoke during the earlier debate. The question of invalidity of the motion to impeach Mrs. Bandaranaike and the consequent illegality that flowed therefrom were never questions that were focused upon by the Supreme Court. I would summarize the all-important issue before us today. Article 107(2) of the Constitution clearly declares that an address of Parliament supported by a majority of the total number of members of Parliament, including those not present, must be presented to the President before a judge of the Supreme Court or a Court of Appeal is removed. Was there such an address? Is a simple question. The said article uses the word shall and thus imports a mandatory requirement for Parliament to present an address to the President. Was this mandatory requirement complied with by this House when we debated the motion to impeach the 43rd Chief Justice? That's a simple question. The answer is a mandatory no. If there is such a non-compliance with the mandatory provision of the Constitution, what is the effect of such non-compliance? That's all. The established principle is that it results in procedures that are null and void. The consequence follows that all subsequent acts taken in consequence of the non-compliance, the non-existent address mandated by the Constitution will necessarily become void ab initio, and that is how today measures had to be taken to rectify this injustice. As students of administrative law, we recall the words of Lord Diplock in the Civil Service Union case, Council of Civil Service Union versus Minister of for Civil Service, 1985. This case followed the age-old case of Associated Picture Houses versus Winsbury. The Winsbury rules we talk when you talk about reasonableness in writ jurisdiction. Lord Diplock was quoted by the Honourable Leader of the Opposition as well in a different context. Gave a summary of the grounds of judicial review, namely illegality, irrationality, and procedural impropriety. He defined procedural impropriety to mean a failure to follow mandatory provisions of law or to act with procedural fairness that would result in decisions becoming void ab initio. There cannot be a more classic instance of such a procedural impropriety than the manifest illegality we committed in 2013, including me who voted for it, when we grievously voted to oust Mrs. Bandaranaike with scant disregard for the mandatory requirement of an address to the President. That is why I feel cathartic today to comment on this and rest my case at that. The impropriety has been remedied in the case of 43rd Chief Justice, and I would commend that we put an end to this filibustering exercise. Thank you very much.